Welcome to Papillion Unscripted. I'm Michael Severe. It is the place to go to hear from people who truly help make Papillion feel like home. Melissa Nelson joining us. She's the Executive Director for the Tri-City Food Pantry. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You have a great story. We're going to talk about that later. I'm going to start off with, how did you get here? How did you end up being the Executive Director for the Tri-City Food Pantry?
We moved to Papillion 7 years ago from Houston. I had a master's degree in nonprofit management. I worked at the Sarpy County Museum for a few years, and the food pantry director job came open, and I wanted to transfer a little closer to home. Not that Bellevue is far away.
Yeah.
And so I've been there for almost 5 years now.
They always say find a job that fills your cup.
Yep.
Because this job, I'm assuming that it almost overflows with this kind of job.
The cup overflows.
Yeah.
It overflows into our family, but it's definitely a passion of mine to serve others and serve the community. So this is just one way that I give back.
Why Tri-City? Why is it called that? Who all is involved?
Historically, we used to serve Papillion, La Vista, Ralston, the Tri-Cities, and we've slowly opened our doors due to the pandemic, the flooding we had a few years ago, so now we actually serve all of Sarpy County and the Ralston communities. So Tri-City is really just more of our historical name.
Gotcha. You've had a unique few years, really. I mean, in 2018, 2019, a lot of need in general across the county and across the state, and then we had the pandemic, which really threw things into a loop. What's it been like these last couple of years?
It's definitely been very busy. We haven't had any normal years, I think, since 2018, maybe. Like I said, in 2019, we had the flooding, so we opened the doors to our Bellevue neighbors, and then the pandemic hit in 2020, and we just haven't slowed down. And now this year has actually been even busier than the previous 2 years, so we'll just see where it takes us.
Here's a misconception that I've heard. People think Sarpy County, everybody's wealthy, right? They think that.
100%.
Obviously. But you serve so many people. Give us an idea of how many a year or how many a month that you're serving.
The June of 2022 alone, we served 175 families, which is almost twice as much as last year. Our neighbors are the ones that need help, and you just don't know where they live from, and just because they live in a certain house or drive a certain car doesn't mean they don't need help, especially those that have been hit by COVID. Either they were unemployed because those service industries were closed for so long, they had COVID themselves, and so now all the medical bills that they're facing. We've had people that go to the variety of churches around town. They're all in all the schools around here. It's not just one pocket, that there's poverty and need in all of Sarpy County.
Yeah, you hear people miss 2 checks or you miss 3 or 4 meals. All of a sudden you go from feeling comfortable to being in trouble.
Correct, because if you don't have a paycheck coming in, your bills are still coming in. Almost all of the benefits from the pandemic, stimulus checks, the deferred rent, those are all ended or ending. And so those have all just been piling up for families, and they can't stop them from coming.
What about in terms of volunteers? How's it been in terms of people coming in and helping you guys out?
We have a great volunteer base. I lost a few during the pandemic because they were grandparents and now had to stay and help kids that were being homeschooled since the schools were closed. And some elderly that maybe just needed to stay home and not be around the public so much, but we've definitely had a lot of the community step up. Anytime I put out the need that we need more volunteers, it's always amazing who can call and email and shows up at our door.
What are some of the things the volunteers have to do?
Currently, it's stocking our shelves, going through the food that gets donated, serving all the families that come in. We just started a delivery program last month, so we have delivery drivers driving pantries to the homebound or those in quarantine. And then we also have volunteers that work in our garden outside, so a wide variety.
You obviously are hoping for a new building.
Correct.
You have a lot of stuff in there. It's very crowded. It also needs to be more efficient. Can you talk to us where you are in terms of the new building?
Yep, so we kicked off our campaign in December. We're looking at land. Building wasn't ideal just because it's a longer process, but then if we do build, we'll truly be able to serve Sarpy County for the long term because the need's not going away. And we'll be able to serve the families that come in the most dignified way so they can come choose the groceries. There's space to spread out. We're not on top of each other. Families can choose what they need based on health needs or preference or cultural needs. So it's in process.
Yeah, along with having a drive-through would be great, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep, an easier way to drop off. If we have our own building, we can have different hours. We could be open on the weekends for families. We could be open more in the evenings for all the working families. So there's a lot of benefits. One of the benefits will be a point of distribution for Sarpy County in emergency management. We don't have that currently, so it'll offer a lot for all of Sarpy.
I mean, simple as handing out water if you had to.
Correct.
Right.
You can, if we need to be a charging station, if there's flooding again and we need to reverse flow and hand out water or other emergency supplies, tarps, things like that will be there.
In terms of one of the things you talked about last time I was there was dog food, how so many people, especially older people, have pets. You need that as well as to be donated?
Yep, so we don't just do food, we do pet food, we do meat, we do paper products, we do toiletry items. Almost a third of our families are probably seniors, and a lot of them have a dog or a cat because they're lonely and that's their companion animal. And just like we want to feed our human neighbors, we want to feed our pet neighbors too.
Yeah. What are some other things you guys need right now?
Right now, we need a lot of the sides to kind of help fill out those meals. Pasta dishes, rice dishes. We need pet food. We're almost out of that. Paper products, toilet paper, Kleenex, paper towels. I mean, inflation is hitting all of our neighbors really hard right now, so then they need to come to us. So it's doubly hitting us. We're facing the same prices, but the need has gone up. We always publish our most needed list on our website every month and on our Facebook page every month, as well as publish it in the church bulletins. You publish it for us. And so we just try to get the need out there every month about what kind of needs to fill our shelves.
You mentioned coming here to the Nebraska area for the Sarpy County Museum. What was that job, and what was it like to go from a city like Houston, which is, I believe, now the 9th largest city in the country, to an area this size?
It's the 4th largest,
Yeah.
I believe.
In terms of media market, but yeah, in terms of population, you're right.
Yes. I don't know the medium.
That I know in my brain.
Good for you. Well, coming back, I was actually a graduate of Bellevue East. I moved here my sophomore year of high school, and then my mom never left. And so I was coming back home.
Nice.
And we moved here in Houston. We had 2 kids in Houston, so we came back and realized we wanted to raise them in Sarpy County and not in Houston. I loved working at the museum. They do great things there. I was able to interact with all the members and help plan events, and that was lots of fun. But this just really talks to my heart more, and like I said, it was closer to home, and so I just made the move.
So people complain about the humidity here. Do you laugh at them?
Yeah, I do. I do. I mean, it's a temporary thing. It's bad, but it's only for a few months. So
yeah, no doubt. So let's talk about before that. You were in the Merchant Marines?
Correct. My husband and I went to a Merchant Marine college in Maine.
In Maine?
In Maine.
Okay, that's the last place I think it would be.
There's 5 in the country. So actually, I was working at Harrah's Casino Boat as a deckhand when it used to have to go up and down the river.
Oh yeah, sure.
And when I
By
graduated,
law, yeah.
Yeah, and when I graduated high school, I was like, well, that sounds like a fun career. So I went to Maine Maritime Academy, the only person from Nebraska there.
Wow.
Shocking, I know.
Yeah.
And so then my husband and I both graduated. We got Coast Guard license to be in the Merchant Marines and to drive unlimited tonnage. So any ship out on the ocean, my husband and I can steer.
Wow.
And then I worked for an oil major in Houston, and it was a lot of fun. It was very busy. I was obviously one of the few females in this industry. And like I said, it just really didn't speak to my heart. I was spending 60, 70 hours a week making lots of money for oil majors, and so I decided to get my master's degree in nonprofit management because I really like to serve and give back to the community, and one way of doing that is bringing it home by putting my money where my mouth is, and that was going to be my work.
Yeah. Were you in Bryan College Station at A&M, or was it online?
It was online, and then they have a satellite in Houston.
Oh yeah, sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Yes, because I had I had 1 kid and I was pregnant with the second.
I was trying to figure out how you were doing that.
Yes.
It's not a long drive, but still that would be a heck of a commute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you do for fun? Because you always seem busy. Last time I saw you, you were over at St. Columkill with the summer program. You're always
I run VBS at St. Columkill. My kids are very busy, so I'm all involved in theirs. I'm a leader in our Boy Scout troop at St. Columkill. I lead my son's Cub Scout den at St. Columkill, and I'm our PAC secretary.
Wow.
I lead other volunteer other stuff.
So not a lot of hobbies.
Sorry, I don't really have a lot of hobbies. It's just serving
you're just working,
and doing other things.
Right,
yes,
which is a hobby in itself.
Yes, and then we have 3 kids, and they play multiple sports, so we're involved in that, and we go to the gym, and my husband volunteers, so keeps us busy.
I always ask this question to people. I should always give it to them before, but I don't. So there's lots of stuff that happens in Papillion, obviously, in this area.
Yep.
Is there something that you think of that you'd like to highlight that maybe you think doesn't get as much interest as it should, or as much attention as it should?
What goes on in Papillion? Oof, there's so much that goes on in Papillion.
I know. We try to highlight as much as we can. Yes. Obviously, the parks are incredible, and Sumter's pretty cool and stuff, but sometimes people have little things that they really like to do.
Well, we really like the Papillion La Vista Arts Network. They do the play with the junior high and elementary kids. We're actually going on Friday night. And
Nice.
so I think there's a wide variety of arts that are involved in Papillion. We see our awesome, soccer fields and football, and my kids certainly all play sports, but there's so many other opportunities for art programs and for music programs that I think is really, great to really fill out everybody's needs.
Yeah, the show choirs, I did a story on both of the two show choirs at the high
Yes.
schools, and they're incredible. They're so talented.
I mean, I was in show choir at Bellevue East, so I can't really speak to the
You
two
can't
here.
speak to theirs, yeah, not as
But it
good.
was competition, 20 years ago, but still.
Yeah. Last question, you look down the road, 5-10 years, do you think this gets better in terms of the need of what you supply, or are we facing even more shortages and more trouble?
I think there's always going to be need. The sad part is a lot of the need is just tied to whatever the political climate is at the time. So it's hard to know what help is going to be available for families. You're always going to need help, whether if you don't need help today, you're going to need some sort of help in the future, which is why I think it's important to give back now while you can, because you never know if you're going to be the one that needs help next time, or now you might be in the opportunity to help people too. So it's just cyclical, and you never know what's going to happen.
Not a bad idea to donate now before you need.
Correct.
'Cause it could
Wait
be
till
that-
we're in crisis, because when that happens, the pandemic hit and you couldn't buy anything.
Yeah, very true. Melissa, we appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks.
All right, join us next time when we again speak to someone who truly helps Papillion feel like home.